Today's guest is Victoria Lauren, who is a psychedelic leadership coach who I had the pleasure of meeting when I was at PsyCon in Las Vegas back in May. We just happened to meet crossing the street to grab some food. I think she was going to Starbucks. She was also speaking there. And we just hit it off real quick and became friends from there. I was just on her podcast, actually, so make sure you go check that out, the Psychedelic Mindscape. And enjoy building off of that conversation on my podcast here. Make sure that you are following the Trip Sitting podcast on whatever streaming platform that you are listening to this on. Make sure you're following us on social media at _Trip Sitting _. And if you feel called to do so, give us a rating so that way we can please the algorithm gods and get in front of more viewers. That's all I got for you. Here is Victoria. This is the first podcast I've recorded since I've started to redo my office a little bit, so I'm excited. There's a different energy that's here.
Very nice. Are the mushrooms behind you new? I'm trying to remember.
Yes, that is new.
Okay.
So it's a mushroom tapestry. I've got a plant right there.
Nice.
Right there. And that's a whole altar with medicine on it.
Oh,
Another plant right here.
amazing.
And I've got a bunch of pictures and stuff. I'm going to take those down and do something there. And I've got some more pictures that I need to hang. And I want to get way more plants now that I have some.
Yes. They're kind of addictive. Like
it's been like 4 days and it's my favorite thing. I check this little Planta app every single day, even though I don't have to water them more than once a week, to see like, is there something I have to do? And there isn't. So I'm like, well, I guess I need more plants.
Yeah, my husband and I took the time to actually count the number of plants that we have in our house at one point. And I think that we were around 87.
Yo, that's awesome.
Yes, but it was hilarious because I was telling that story to a friend of mine that's a master gardener, and he just laughs at me and he's like, amateurs. He's like, I've got almost 200.
Okay, buddy.
Right? I was like, whoa, didn't know this was a competition.
So where are you moving in a month?
Well, that's a very fair question. So I'm planning on staying in Bend, Oregon, but just moving houses.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, but Arthur is going to be heading to the Bay Area for about 2 months. So I'll kind of just be kicking it, doing my own thing over the summer. And he's going to be exploring work and possible accelerators. And I don't know, just getting to know people over there. So
yeah. How long have you two been together?
We've been together. It'll be 3 years in August.
Okay. Nice. And have you guys, I guess since you've lived together, have you spent an extended period apart before, or will this kind of be the first time?
This will be the first time.
Nice.
Will be the first time. Yes. And it brings up a lot of fears of how are we going to manage that? Like how is our connection and our communication going to be? Obviously, Oregon to California is not incredibly long distance. And, I've already booked flights to go visit him in California. He's got flights to come back and, see me here. But I think it'll be interesting as both of us are kind of exploring our own careers and our own worlds to still, keep that intention of coming back together, finding connection, and then, kind of like riding that while we're doing the long distance.
Yeah. It's really, again, a lot of synchronicities. It's a conversation that my partner and I are actually having like right now.
Okay.
Because it's like there's no set plan or anything, but it's looking like it would make a lot of sense for me to spend some extended time outside of Colorado, probably in Mexico City, or Costa Rica or something like that, basically just out of the country. For probably at least 2 to 3 months towards the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year. So we've started to talk about that, and like a lot of those fears are coming up, and we're figuring out like where they're coming from and what they mean, and all of that. And she actually said something to me yesterday that like I was kind of framing it as something like don't, we're like, like we'll get through it, like we're committed to each other, that's the only thing that matters, and we'll get through it. And something she said to me was like, rather than looking at it as a way to get through it, looking at it as an opportunity for us to really grow individually and then come back together and
Yeah.
kind of look at, everything in context of ourselves as individuals and in the context of our relationship, and you're really using it as that opportunity. But that doesn't mean it's not fucking scary still.
It's definitely scary, but I love that you guys are having that conversation too, because I feel like, and I feel like this is actually the same for my partner as well. Neither one of us have really seen long distance done well by
Hmm.
couples. And there was actually a woman that was in my executive coaching program, and she mentioned she lives in Germany and she's from Japan. Her husband's from Oregon, and she was going to head to Harvard for some course, and it was going to be 8 months. And so her husband was going to stay in Germany while she's east coast of the United States. And she's saying to me, like, oh, I don't want him around during that time because like I need to be super focused and
Mm.
I need to like dive in deep to the things that I need to work on. And I just went, oh, interesting. And that doesn't scare you. And then at the same time, I have another friend whose family, they split time between Japan and Oregon. And same thing. It's like the spouse is going to Japan for an extended period
Hmm.
while the other one stays in Oregon. And I don't know. So I'm
That's
like,
it.
okay, I guess this is something people do. I guess this is okay.
Yeah. Like I mean I know it can be done is the thing, and like again I know it's challenging, but also again like could be really really beautiful, just because since we've been together we've never spent any extended time apart from each other.
Yeah,
And even though we try to give each other space to do their thing and still be an individual person, it's like there's always kind of that like subconscious thing that's there of like, oh, but like I still want to take care of you and she still wants to take care of me all the time. And
right,
so when we take
right.
away the fact that we live 20 minutes apart right now, it definitely changes things.
It does. It does. And how long have you guys been together now?
We've been together now for, let's say, about a year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's
um
awesome.
so yeah, no, it's this is my first relationship that I've been in. And so yeah, it's been really really special to like have a partner that's so supportive of what I do, which is certainly out of the ordinary,
Yes.
some might say. So because of that
Oh,
I'm like, I guess I gotta do everything to keep her, because she's a once in a lifetime type of individual
yeah.
that I'll meet.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I
So
hear you on that.
when did you get started on your path with working with psychedelics?
Well, personal journey and professional journey, two different timelines there.
Yeah.
Personal journey occurred first, kind of late in life compared to yourself, compared to a lot of other individuals. So
Hmm.
my first psychedelic experience was in 2018, and that was with magic mushrooms. But yeah,
Yeah, I remember this story.
yeah, it changed everything for me. So there's a lot that came after that, and just a real a real curiosity
Hmm.
about like what just I don't know what else is out there. People talk about the veil being lifted, or seeing past the matrix, and
Hmm.
that's really how it felt. And I just wanted to know, like, well, what else is possible? What else is out there? And so it just really spurred my relationship with psychedelics, with plant medicine, And then it was 2 years ago that I started doing psychedelic leadership coaching.
Hmm. And how did you decide that that's what you were going to do with this medicine
So, well,
and
it
quit your
probably,
other job?
yes, it won't surprise you to know that it was a psychedelic experience that told me,
Naturally, as it should be.
as it should be. But funny enough, and this kind of actually goes back to one of the topics that you and I touched on my podcast was like the recreational versus ceremonial use of
Hmm.
psychedelics. And I've had incredible insights and incredible learnings and transformations with both. And
Hmm.
so this one in particular was a psychedelic experience with LSD in Las Vegas. And I had two friends that are, we'll say, they're pretty deep in the plant medicine world. They host retreats, yoga retreats, and they work with different either shamans or curanderos to hold the ceremony. And
Hmm.
so I was with them, and we just had this super fun night together, kind of like walking all over Vegas
Hmm.
and checking things out. And at one point, I'm in our hotel room and I'm looking out the window and I can see all the cars down below, and they just look like these teeny tiny little toy cars, zipping back and forth. And I have like this zooming out sensation, and all of a sudden those cars become all the various problems that I'm tackling at work. And work had been super stressful at this point. I was doing product management in a medical device company. My background's biomedical engineering, so I come from health tech, med device. That was the world that I was in before. And I'm just thinking about all of the products and the portfolio, and what's happening with our new product engineering and go to market. And I just went, wow, I really don't give a fuck about any of those problems.
That is the just well said, well put, truth, and all of that. It's always one of my like favorite things to happen to me during any journey, especially during my earlier ones, where like those things would come up for me, like what's alive for me in my life right now, and just the sudden realization, like I actually don't give a one single fuck about any of these. Like I'm done caring about this.
Yes, yes. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating to me, like what we choose to care about and what
Hmm.
we decide is important and worth our attention and our energy. And, even things that perpetuate anxiety or depression or that like feeling of disconnection. And we can still choose to invest in that thing. And so it
Hmm.
was just this wonderful moment of like, oh, wow, yeah, nope, don't give a crap about that. And so then it's like, the frame pivots and all of a sudden I'm looking in the other direction, and it dawns on me like what I actually care about are people. And I care about people being able to reach their potential, to live their best life. And I just started thinking about all the friends and colleagues and, ways that I had really been showing up as a coach all of my life, and thought, wow, I wonder, could I help more people dissolve those blocks, those barriers? Understand what their blind spots are. Why are they sabotaging themselves? Like, how do we shift their mindset? Because I just see it as, and this was actually reconfirmed for me in an ayahuasca ceremony in Ecuador later. Um, but it was that the way that I see it is every single individual has a gift. You know, each one of us is unique and special, just like everyone else. And so, if we can have a planet where people can lean into that particular gift that they have, that thing that only they can share with the world, then, as an individual themselves, like you're going to be happier, You're going to be
Hmm.
more productive. You're going to be, creative. You're going to be flowing. You're going to feel good. And if we had a planet full of people that were just, grooving and moving,
Hmm.
it would be a really wonderful place to live.
It
So
would.
I'm like, happy people, happy planet. And happy people also, steward the planet. They take care of the planet. They value the planet because they value themselves. And they
Mm.
witness that, that whole nature outside of me, nature within me, we're all just the same thing.
Yeah, when you realize that you are not, like, you and I are not separate from one another, that we are actually the same thing, experiencing our own individual and like unique life, but all truly come from the exact same
Yes. 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 Exactly.
oneness.
It's the oneness. It's the oneness. And I love that that's what psychedelics can teach you, and not in an intellectual, not like, oh, someone's going to listen to a lecture or read a book about
Hmm.
oneness. I mean, you can sit with that in meditation. Maybe you're able to access that. For me, plant medicine was the first time that I felt that in my body and
Hmm.
really knew it, understood it. So that's, yeah, a big
What I
reason why.
love so much about, especially like the group ceremonies and like when you're working with like a healer, shaman, whatever you call it, that really knows what they're doing and like embodies the medicine, is the fact that, especially us, like Western folk that are having these experiences, most of us don't speak Spanish, so we have no idea what the fuck they're saying. But like, they're not preaching to us anything. Like, they're not telling us at all how we should feel, what we should be doing, like what to think or anything like that. And yet we're all able to just sit there and come to pretty much the same conclusions, just experiencing it ourselves. Like, that's what plant medicine, it allows you to have that direct experience without the preachiness of a church or as some sort of organized religion that's telling you, oh, this is what this means, we've studied it, we're the gatekeepers of this. Whereas like a healer is not healing you, a healer is just there to hold the space. It's the medicine that's healing you, so the medicine is going to show you whatever it's supposed to show you. They have no control over what that is.
Yeah,
And we're all able to then come to these and realize on our own, like, oh shit, we are all the same. That's pretty cool.
it is. Yeah, it's that direct connection with source. And it's interesting because I've gotten to several debates with my dad about this. So my dad is very religious, and then I would describe myself as very spiritual. And so
Hmm.
we can have these really meaningful conversations about spirit, about love, about God. And the words that we use are, slightly different, but we
Hmm.
understand each other. We know that we're saying the same thing.
Hmm.
And it's funny because, from his perspective, he looks at my integration of plant medicine into my spiritual practice as a crutch, as like, oh, this is a drug. This is like, some
Hmm.
external thing that she is using in order to find that connection.
Yeah.
And I agree that, like, if I could feel that connectedness at all times and just live in this beautiful blissed out heart open state,
That'd be
like,
sick.
that would be amazing. I would love that. But you know what? I forget, and I need
Yeah.
reminders.
Plant medicine is it's a remembrance. It's like
Yeah.
it's not showing you anything you don't know. It's remembering who you truly are to begin with.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It just strips all of the noise, all of the labels, all of the fears. Like, it just allows that to drop away. And
Yeah.
then you're sitting there with your essence, with your knowing. So I would be fascinated if my dad decided to sit in ceremony, because he's already, such a spiritual person. I
Yeah.
feel like it would rock his world.
It's always so interesting when I talk to people that are very religious, but not religious in like the dogmatic way, like actually religious and like embodying a lot of those principles. Because
Mhm.
like, one, psychedelics have helped me understand like the teachings of Jesus Christ more than anything else on this world.
Right.
I also didn't grow up Catholic or Christian or anything. I actually grew up Jewish, but like the teachings of the Torah and the Quran, like all of them just sort of made inherent sense after I really experienced psychedelics the first time. So when I have those discussions with those religious people, like I have that thought too. I'm like, man, like I really wonder what it would be like for this individual to really have this direct experience with it. But like, I know there's it's never something I would force on anybody,
Of course.
but
Of
also too,
course.
like they already understand it. It's not like they necessarily need it for anything.
Right.
Like they're not trying to strip anything down. But I love stripping back the veil and killing myself a little bit. To see what I'm actually not, to see that I was never that
Right.
thing to begin with.
Right. Exactly. And I think for me too, like so I did grow up in a religious household, raised as, actually, I don't even know what type of Christian, some type of Christian for the first 7 years. I think I was
They're all the
baptized.
same to me.
Right. I know. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would hate to hear that, but
I'm
like,
sure there are.
I'm
but
sure.
but to caveat that, all religion is the exact same to me. Christianity, Judaism,
Right.
Buddhism, Hinduism, that's all the same shit. So all of your Christians are also the same shit.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. So I was raised with that, going to Sunday school, doing all of that for the first 7 years of my life. And then when my parents divorced, at I was 8, that's when, well, we stopped going. My dad moved to Russia. I was with my mom in Alaska. My mom was not attending church, and so I
You grew
didn't
up in
go.
Alaska?
I grew up in Alaska.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold up. Let's back up for a second. Where in Alaska did you grow up?
I grew up in Anchorage. So
Anchorage? That's cold as hell.
oh, it's super cold and it's super dark, but
Yeah.
I guess it's one of the balmier places in Alaska because it's actually pretty like south. If you go, I don't know, you go
Not
up
as
to
south
like
as Juneau.
That's true. That's
Juneau's
true.
basically
But like
Canada.
right. But you go to like Fairbanks or like you go super far north. Oh gosh, like yeah, it
You're
can
naming
get
places I've
real.
never heard of. My Alaska knowledge is Juneau and Anchorage, and it ends there.
That's all right. That's all right.
And
That's pretty
what
good.
I do know actually is that Alaska does have the tallest mountains that are in the United States territories.
It's also the largest state. A
Yes,
lot of people think that,
that I did
yeah,
know. It
yeah,
is
yeah.
gigantic.
It is so huge. It's so huge. My husband and I actually drove up 2 summers ago. We did like a whole 9 months of van life and, drove down to as far south as like the northern tip of Arizona and then
Hmm.
drove all the way up to Alaska.
That's crazy.
It was a
Now,
trip.
question, was most of that drive through Canada?
Yes, it was. And I tell you, the Yukon Territory, it feels like it lasts forever. And the mosquitoes are relentless.
Oh
Oh
man,
my
I
goodness.
hate mosquitoes so much.
Oh, this was bad. And I mean, like, we have pretty massive, we joke in Alaska that our mosquitoes are like our state bird because they're
Hmm.
so huge. But going through Yukon Territory, we would get done driving 8, 9, 10 hours that day. And all you want to do after all that driving is get out of the van. So we'd like park somewhere, BLM, jump out and
Just get
get
attacked.
eaten alive and
Oh,
realize very quickly that it was not going to work for us and jump
Yeah.
right back into the van.
That sucks.
It was rough.
But that's cool. So when did I guess I'm maybe skipping ahead in this story a little bit, but so actually yes. So let's just go back to the story. So parents divorced, dad moved to Russia, which is actually not that far away from Alaska.
It's
Uh,
true. It's true. Sarah Palin would say that she can actually see it
yeah.
from
So
her
like
house.
like for me living in the lower 48, if someone's like, yeah, they moved to Russia, I'm like, holy shit, that's so far. But like, yeah, it's kind of far. Maybe. Alaska's big is the thing, so that's why it's far, but it's way
Exactly.
closer than here.
Yes, this is very true. This is very true.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
beginning of your villain origin story,
Right. Right. So
parents divorce.
we're based in Alaska. Parents get divorced. Dad had actually already been spending extended time in Russia when I was 7 because he went on rotation.
Hmm.
So I grew up in an oil and gas family. That's why we were in Alaska. That's why my dad was on rotation in Russia. And then when my parents got divorced, I'm 8. My dad moves full time to Russia. So I think 8 years old is the first time that I flew internationally. And
Mm.
that was to go spend the summer with my dad. So I would kind of, bounce between mostly in Alaska, but then some extended time in Russia as well. And and then when I was 10, both of my parents remarried within 3 weeks of each other. So,
Nice.
yeah, I all of a sudden had
Did you
biological
did
parents,
you
step
go to both
parents.
weddings?
I did. I did. Yes. Yes.
Nice.
So, yeah. Yeah, they got remarried and that started and then they both ended up having children together. So there's 3 of us that are full siblings. That's me,
Hmm.
Preston, Olivia, and then my mom and stepdad had twins, and then my
Hmm.
dad and stepmom had a daughter. So I am the eldest of 6 is
Okay.
how
Oh, you're the
that
you're the you're the oldest of
uh-huh,
everyone. Okay.
uh-huh. Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
what is the
firstborn.
what is the youngest? What's the difference between you and the
There
youngest
is
one?
a 14-year difference
Okay.
between me and the youngest.
We've got kind of a similar family structure. So,
Okay.
yeah, my parents divorced when I was around 2. Dad got remarried. Mom got another partner, never officially married. My mom's partner, he already had 2 kids
Mm.
that were around the same age as my brother and I'm the younger of like my actual brother, and then me. We're 2
Yep.
years apart, and then my dad and stepmom had more kids, and the difference between me and the youngest is 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I've
Yeah.
got
So
like
you,
two half brothers, one actual brother, one step brother, one step sister.
oh my goodness. Yep. Blended families.
Uh huh. Oh yeah,
Pretty common nowadays, I feel.
yeah. Makes Modern Family look like it wasn't too far off the mark.
Yes. 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 This is true. So yeah, that was a lot of change, kind of all at once as a kid. And then when the twins were born, they were, I don't know, maybe like a month old when we moved from Alaska to Indonesia. So I was 12 and
What?
the entire family.
I thought you were gonna say like Indiana or some shit. Like,
The really funny thing is that it was a tie between 2 places, is what my mom told me, that my dad had an opportunity in California and in Indonesia.
okay,
And I remembered thinking that California, like, I didn't want to go there because in my mind it was so close to
yeah.
Alaska. I was like, well, if it's so close, like, why do we have to move? Like, why can't
Yeah.
dad just, commute to California?
So basically, like your mind is like, if we're gonna move, we might as well go somewhere way the fuck away. So it's actually
Exactly.
very different for you. That's that's
Yes.
that's a dope thought for a 12-year-old to have.
That was my thinking. And so we were on an airplane flying back to Alaska, And my mom, she had this really adorable way of breaking the news. She had like a little gift bag. So she and my dad, with the newborn babies, had already gone to Indonesia to like check things out, to, you know, find a house, like see, is this a good fit? Like, are we going to move here? And so they come back, and then we're all flying together up to Alaska. And she's got these little gift bags,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got, you know, like little ginger treats from
Mm-hmm.
Indonesia, like, you know, little like wayang puppets, and just, I don't know, fun things that she had
Yeah.
picked up. And so we're like opening up the bag of gifts, and that's when she makes the announcement, you know, we're moving to Indonesia.
And
And
that's with your dad or your stepdad?
that was with my stepdad. So my
Okay,
dad
gotcha.
was already, yeah, my dad ended up staying in Russia
Okay,
for
gotcha.
15 years, I
Oh
think.
shit. Okay.
Yeah, married. My stepmom is Russian, and, you know, my youngest sister was kind of raised mostly, we'll say, in Russia. So she's fully bilingual.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was super, super cool. But yeah, so my mom makes the announcement, and my reaction was, amazing! That's great! And then I went, wait, where's Indonesia?
Nice.
Yep. Yep. So moved there at the age of 12. Ended up spending 4 years, and it took me like a full year to get used to the climate. Like coming
Mm.
from such dry, cold, you know, dark winters, never ending sunny summers. And then now, like, Indonesia, the clock is ticking. You know, it's like sun is up, sun is down, same time every day, super
Mm-hmm.
hot, super humid. And it's either dry season or rainy season. And like,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. So it took me a full year to feel like I wasn't dying of heat stroke at all
Yeah.
times.
Naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. But I loved it there. I
Yeah.
really loved
Have you
it.
been back as an adult?
I have actually. But to be honest, just to Bali. I never went back. Oh, actually, that's not true. I went back, but it was still young adult, like 18, young
Mm-hmm.
adult, to Jakarta, which is the city that I lived in.
Nice.
But then in 2020, right before, you know, everything shut down with COVID, I had a trip. I intended to take several months, because I'd gotten divorced in 2019 and was just looking for, I don't know, just a moment to pause, to find myself, to grieve, you know, all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, yeah, why not Bali? That's, you know, I'm gonna do the whole eat, pray,
And so
love.
this would have been shortly after your first experience with mushrooms.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So interestingly, and I know that I hear a lot of fears that people communicate about, like, oh, well, I don't want to work with, you know, plant medicine or psychedelics because I don't want to leave my partner, or I don't
Yeah.
want my partner to leave me.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something to that, because, you know, I can't say that that never happens,
Yeah.
because
A common one I hear too is like, I don't want to change my job, or like, I don't want to move to a different place.
yes,
And I'm
yes.
like, again, it's not a guarantee, but it's also not impossible.
Exactly, exactly. Because
And
it's
so
like
it's,
it's like
yeah.
saying I don't want to know what I already deeply know.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's to me what like is, it's just kind of crazy. Like that doesn't register to me as a thing, because like I know that you already know this thing, and you just don't want to face the fact that like you
Yes.
deep down fucking hate your partner. Like I don't know
Right.
what to tell you about that.
Right.
And then like I can't help you. There's
Yeah.
nothing I can do at this point to actually help you if you don't want to like make that change. And that's why I very much say plant medicine is not for everybody.
Right.
It is not. Like you got to come to this shit humble, like ready to make a change that you want to change, even if it's severely uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
like face the truth. And you don't have to know what that truth is, but like you got to be ready to just face whatever it potentially could be. And if you're
Exactly.
not ready to do that, don't work with plant medicine right now.
Exactly. Exactly. And it was really interesting. I think this captures it super well. So I ended up, well, let me go back to the life story so that we can like catch
Cool.
up to here. But let's put a pin in exactly this because so I end up in Indonesia for 4 years, and then we moved back to Alaska for my senior year of high school. So I finish out high school in Alaska,
Was it
which
in the same place in Alaska that you were at before?
yes,
So did
which
you
I
like come
will.
back and then like, your friends that you had were like, "Oh, hey, Victoria, you're back."
They were, and I will tell you I mean, like culture shock going to a new place is difficult, but you expect it because you're
Yeah.
like, wow, this is not my country. This is not my language. This is not my culture. But
Yeah.
then you go back home, or at least to what you believe is your home, and then you have reverse culture shock
Mm,
and you don't see that coming. And
yeah.
that is way harder. I ended up going into just kind of this like hermitude depression that
Mm,
last year because I got back and, the things that people wanted to talk about were just not important to me.
yeah. I don't
It
give
was
a shit.
I was like, yeah, it was one of those like, wow, I am so not interested in, whatever latest design Abercrombie and Fitch just came out with. Like,
Mm,
seriously, don't want to think about it, don't want to talk about it. And so it just, yeah, it felt very isolating and it just kind of felt like I couldn't integrate. I couldn't like find a way to fit in. And so I had a lot of kind of like random pockets of different friends that would like satisfy an aspect of myself,
hmm.
but I never really felt like I found my people, until going to university and kind of starting fresh and like making new friends.
Hmm.
So yeah, so finished out in Alaska, went down to Seattle to attend the University of Washington. That same year, my my mom and stepdad moved yet again to Azerbaijan. So they take off to the Middle East.
Cool.
I'm left alone in the United States. And then it just turns into like every single break that I've got throughout college, summer break, spring break, anything. I'm flying, like 36 hours to
Hmm.
go stay with my family in Baku. So,
And your
yeah.
younger siblings are there with them.
Yep.
Got
Yep,
it.
exactly. I was the only one out of the house at that point. So, so my brother and sister that are second and third born, they, like their high school graduation was in Baku in Azerbaijan.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So, so then, come eventually they come back to the United States and return to Alaska, and and at this point I've graduated and I've relocated to Houston, Texas. So when I graduated, I was looking for a gig in biotech, some type of like med device startup, something using the degree that I got,
Hmm.
and I couldn't find anything, not a single job. And I just went, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so, with my family, having their whole career in oil and gas, those are the connections that they have. And
Hmm.
so, my dad said, hey, like, if you want me to introduce you, if you want to just like come check it out, like see what the business is all about. So I ended up hiring on with ExxonMobil as an environmental engineer, which,
Mm.
that wasn't my official background, but a lot of my internships and kind of like side gigs throughout university were more focused on environmental engineering.
Okay.
So I signed on with that and I moved to Texas. And within, I don't know, maybe like the first 2 weeks of being there, I meet my first husband.
Mm.
And we met in a yoga class, and so I actually thought he was gay when he approached me. Like, I was very
Back
much
then, yeah, like back then, guys that regularly did yoga, I feel like it was way less cool and normal for
right.
guys to do, which is so fucking weird. But like,
It's so weird. It's so weird.
but yeah, you didn't
But
see as many guys going to yoga classes.
no, you didn't. You didn't. And yeah, so I'm thinking, oh, like my new gay friend. This is great. Like maybe we can go shopping together. Like and then and he like asked me if I want to grab tea with him. Like it seemed very safe. It did not
Yeah.
seem like a date. And then I show up for tea and quickly realize like, oh,
Oh shit, is this a date?
this is a date. Oh damn. Oh, I didn't think this was a date. I was like, shit, maybe I should have washed my hair. Like so yeah. So at that time, we ended up getting married very, very quickly.
Mhm.
So we were together for, I don't know, a matter of months when I got the news that my stepdad, the one that I had lived in Indonesia with, had
Mhm.
really grown up with, had been diagnosed with brain cancer
Shit.
and was given 6 months to
Oh
live.
shit.
Mhm. Yeah. So that completely rocked my world.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that. And in all honesty, I really wanted him to have that experience of walking walking his daughter down the aisle, getting to
Mm.
see one of his kids married. And I don't know. I just went for it.
Mhm.
And was only 23, had no clue, about who I was, what I wanted out of life, like none of that. And yeah, he ended up passing away at the age of 49. He
Damn.
never he never made it to retirement. Like all the dreams, he had these dreams of owning a vineyard in Portugal. That's what he always talked about. Like he wanted to
Yeah.
retire, go grow some grapes, make some wine in Portugal. And that was kind of his dream.
Mhm.
And so I'd only been, in my position with Exxon for 3 years. And I just had a hard look at my life and was just like, is this the path that I want to continue on? And I just realized that so much of what I was doing was about making both of my dads, they were
Mhm.
both oil and gas, making them
Yeah.
proud. And I thought, you know what? There's no guarantee. Like, no one has any guarantee that they're going to live long enough to do the things that they want to do. So you'd better do it now.
Yeah. Figure it out. There's no tomorrow. Oh, January 1st.
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to say between all of these things, my
Mhm.
dad passing, and then the story I'm about to share, there is a massive 5-year sailing adventure. We can come back to that. But just,
Okay, question. So when your
yes,
dad passed, were you married at this point?
yes.
Okay.
So I'd
So you
gotten
are married at
married.
this point.
I was married. I'd been married for 6 months, and
Okay.
he passed.
After dating for
Oh gosh, maybe 9 months.
okay, got it.
Yeah, maybe
So
a year. It was
nine
pretty
months,
quick.
maybe a year, but married now. And
Yes.
6 months later, so you've been together a
6 months later.
total of a year and a half and are
Yeah.
already married.
Yes. We'll call it.
Cool.
We'll call it a year and a half. Our engagement was 6 weeks. Like
Cool.
from getting
You
engaged,
guys were quick with it.
very quick. We were very quick, and it was because
Mhm.
my mom was like, well, if you want your dad at the wedding, like, you
Yeah.
better do it now.
Hmm.
And I said, okay,
And
let's do it.
your and your, I guess now ex-husband was cool with that. He's like, sure, fuck it, we'll rush it.
Yep. Yep. He seemed supportive of it. So yeah. So it worked out. But yeah, but there was after he passed and that whole kind of reevaluation that I went through, I ended up.
That's a ego death. Like
Oh yeah.
when you like, you know, people talk about like the psychedelic experience being like this ego dissolving thing, but like the death of a loved one, losing a job, like things
Yes.
like that have the exact same, if not sometimes more profound impacts on your life, to really like strip everything away and
Yes.
see like, wow, what do I actually care about?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it did. And I feel like the universe continues to throw those at me, through plant medicine and not. So
Hmm.
there's
So
always
then you
opportunities.
go. So then you go sailing for 5 years, which we'll skip over.
We're gonna skip over. We can come back to that. And so I've returned to the United States. I had been living in Ecuador for 2 years at this point. Um, there was, some crazy shit that happened down there, we'll
Hmm.
say. And I come back to the States. My mom had moved from Alaska to Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And so we land there and, pretty soon after make a life in Portland and I'm working and I'm back in digital health and I'm doing marketing for a neurology company. And I participate in a fire ceremony.
Hmm.
And this group that's hosting it, they're having everyone write down on a piece of paper the thing that you want to, release. And I had been feeling a ton of doubt about my marriage and about my partnership. And if this was, in fact, who I wanted to continue doing life with and who I wanted to start a family with. And so I wrote down on the piece of paper the word doubt.
Mm.
I want to burn doubt. I want to release doubt. A couple months later, I sit with mushrooms for the first time. Few months after that, I participate in another fire ceremony. This
Hmm.
one self-led, on a full moon, and the word that I write down is self-doubt.
Hmm. So
So
it's evolved a little bit.
yes, yes. It was that recognition of, oh, all of that doubt that I was feeling and saying that I wanted to get rid of was actually my inner knowing
Hmm.
pleading with me, saying like, please look at this, please acknowledge this. And then through plant medicine, and it wasn't during the journey itself. To be honest, my very first experience was pretty low dose. It might
Hmm.
have been like 1.5 grams. Like there were some visuals, but I was still very much, present in my body, in the room, in the space. And but it was just that next morning having this deep sense of peace and of clarity, and the things that I had been, kind of grappling with around career and, whether to buy a house or not, those answers all came through for me. And it was making those decisions, the career change and the buying of the house, that then led to us getting divorced.
Mm.
So I wouldn't say that it was like I'm sitting with plant medicine and like getting this
Yeah.
download, right? But it's like the changes that then led to this domino effect.
Yeah. It probably accelerated it a little bit, which is
Right.
what needed to happen though. Like it was
Right.
inevitable. This was going to happen.
Yes.
So, sort of back to the why wait for this perfect future version of something, like it just helped being like, okay, let's maybe do this a little sooner rather than later.
Exactly.
You know, you might die
Exactly.
soon, fuck.
You might. And interestingly, the day before I broke the news to my ex that,
Hmm.
that this wasn't working. This wasn't what I wanted. Um, a girlfriend of mine nearly died during a ski outing. So I had gone with a group of, 6 friends, coworkers, just to do. There was, like ladies' night up at Mount Hood, and so
Hmm.
we're all skiing at Ski Bowl. And my girlfriend, I mean, she is an incredible skier, like the strongest skier that I've ever seen, super fast. And later found out that the pin binding on her ski failed. And so as she's
Oh
making this
shit.
super aggressive fast turn, one of her skis pops off. She goes sailing off this cliff into, a forest of trees. I'm on the lift with my friend riding up. I look down at the base of where she had gone off, and I see her just like sprawled, like face down. And I just start like hyperventilating. And I'm
Holy
like, oh my God,
shit.
oh my God, like she's dead. Oh my God. Yeah. It was super intense. And so, we get ski patrol, right? Like we get the whole rescue team, get her loaded up into an ambulance. She had driven her car out there. I'd carpooled with her, so I got into her car and like went by her house, took care of the animals, packed a bag of clothes, and then like drove to the emergency room.
Hmm.
So I was just, yeah, it was a night. It was a night. It was a very long night. I don't think I got home until, I don't know, maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I pass out in bed and I'm just like so exhausted. And the next morning, I'm sitting on the couch having coffee, and it's like that knowing is all of
Hmm.
a sudden there. And it's so strong and it's so clear. And I can't keep it in anymore.
Hmm.
And I just say, like, you know what? I don't think that this is what I want. I don't think
Yeah.
this is working for me.
It
And
almost sounds like you'd been in like a state where you're just like so almost so defeated by life and like some of these just external circumstances that have been happening to you where like it puts you in that state where like you can't keep trying to control the thing that like you've been
yes,
trying to control for so long, and like that's that's the idea of back to, not to keep relating it back to plant medicine, but like what it
yeah,
sort of does to you. And like one of the reasons why a lot of these retreats, or at least specifically one of the companies that I work for, does 3 ceremonies
yeah,
over the course of a retreat, and why they found that to work best is like the first ceremony, you're not super open to it. Like you're trying to hold on
right,
to all of these things and you're not willing to. And the second ceremony, you'll probably be able to go a little deeper, but like even then some people still really struggle a lot. And the idea is basically by the third ceremony, you're just so beat up and tired from fighting that you're finally like, fuck it, just let it happen. And that's when you have like the big breakthrough experience. But like you
yes,
have to get to that state where you're just so exhausted and tired of fighting any longer that you can then actually just see the truth for what it is.
exactly, exactly. And surrendering is so hard for
Yeah.
us. Like it goes against what we're taught, what society, tells us to value, right? We talk about grit, perseverance, like
Hmm.
just try and try and try. And it's
After that,
yeah.
I finally really understood the term "Jesus take the wheel."
Yeah,
I'm done.
exactly. Exactly. And that's how it always goes for me. Like the first ceremony or the first round, first night of ayahuasca, um, even if I'm mentally
Hmm.
open to the experience, I struggle. I
Yeah.
struggle. I struggle to release. I struggle to surrender and to just like relax into it. And so I kind of think of that first one as like just a clearing.
Yeah.
It's just a
A
clearing, it's a
warm up.
preparation, it's a little warm up, test drive, and then, second ceremony, that's when I can finally say, all right, like I'm ready for
Yeah.
this.
Hmm.
Oh,
So, so what year was that? that
So that
you
was so it was end of 2018 was the mushroom experience.
mhm,
March was when um, my friend's ski accident happened, and I told my
started the process?
started the process.
Mhm.
June is when I moved out, and then September of 2019 is when we signed papers and finalized the
Based
divorce.
on everything I know about divorces, you guys got that done pretty quick.
Very quick. Yes. Yes.
I know people that take fucking like 4 years to get that shit finalized. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. I will say, just for in case anyone is, I don't know, needing to hear this,
Hmm.
I think what really helped us was, first of all, working with a mediator instead of hiring lawyers
Yeah,
for each of us, right? So we came at it from a more cooperative, you know,
yeah,
stance. But also because, and this is not to say that we didn't have, struggles and tensions and fights and all of that.
hmm,
In the end, what we decided to do was just to liquidate everything. So it
got it,
was like sell the house, sell the sailboat. Like we just
got it.
liquidated everything and
Do it
then
and
split
split
that.
it.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
That seems like a good way.
Yeah.
Was he like really surprised or like taken aback when you said that, or do you think, was there almost kind of like did he come to this state of acceptance, do you think, maybe a little bit faster than you thought, because maybe he had been thinking the same things?
Yeah, I think that there was a part of him that was surprised and was
Hmm.
shocked. But there was also, I remember him saying like, that makes sense. There was
Yeah,
almost like a sigh of
yeah.
relief from
Hmm.
him too, because I think that, when you're not fully present and like invested in a relationship, like, I don't care how good of a show you put on. People know. Like,
Yeah.
people pick up on it. They might not, consciously be chewing on that, but their body knows. And
Hmm.
so I could definitely see that, yeah, that there had been that knowing in him as
Hmm.
well. Yeah. Yeah.
Heavy stuff.
Very heavy stuff. That was honestly the most painful thing that I've gone through in my entire life.
Hmm.
Going through divorce, that level of loss,
Yeah.
it fucking sucks.
I'm not going to try to even pretend to relate to that because I cannot. I'm
Yeah,
going to take your word for it, though.
take my word for it. It really, really hurts. It's incredibly painful, and it's what sparked my spiritual journey,
Mm,
because during that time, I was seeing my individual therapist. I started doing somatic work during that time. We were also working with a couples therapist that had like a Buddhist meditation kind of background and approach to things. And so I was very much aware at that point that 50% of the relationship was me. This
yeah.
wasn't something where I could
Yeah,
say
it's not
like,
like it doesn't just happen overnight and it's like,
yeah,
oh, you haven't done any of these things. Like it gives you an
it,
opportunity to realize, wait, what wasn't I doing that I
yes,
that I let it get to this point?
yes, exactly. And so I had to come to terms with the fact that I was an enabler.
Hmm.
Like these behaviors that I'm pointing at, saying, well, I don't like that you're doing this, or I don't like that. It's like, hello, who's saying green light to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. So that's when I started I started like doing a deep dive on codependency and the way
Attachment theory.
exactly attachment theory, just relationships, family systems. Like,
Hmm.
I went deep into it and I just went, whoa, okay. Like, there's a lot that I need to work on for myself so that I can show up in a way that's going to allow for a productive relationship.
Hmm.
So, so I am grateful in that sense. because I don't think that if I hadn't had that pain or that, like, rock bottom, we'll say, then I wouldn't have hit pause. Like, I wouldn't have taken that time to like go inside and look at myself, or look in the mirror. So I am
Yeah,
grateful for that.
that's a common theme that I see with a lot of people I talk to, that the start of their spiritual journey typically happens at a very low point in their life. And I like, I wish there was a way for maybe that not to always be the case, but it almost feels like it kind of has to.
But this is where I think that plant medicine plays such an important role, because yes, a lot of times, humans are not sufficiently motivated to
Yeah.
change behavior unless there is, this tipping point of, wow, it's too much pain for yourself, pain for
Hmm.
your family, your community, right? Like, that's what kind of motivates us to begin that work. But in theory, no one has to hit a rock bottom, right?
No,
Like,
no, you definitely
everyone
don't.
everyone could decide, like, I'm going to do this work. I'm going to look inside. I'm going to
Yeah.
look under the hood. And
Well,
I
so
feel like
like,
psychedelics can help with that.
I fully agree. So like, when I came to psychedelics, and like, it was really me coming to ayahuasca, like that was my big, like, I need something to fucking change. Like, this isn't working. I just didn't know what it was. And
Yeah.
still on paper everything looked great. Like, I was making six figures. I was doing the things, working in tech, living in Chicago, like, everything was going great. But I knew it was like I needed to deep dive with ayahuasca. And then after that, though, once I came back, I look at that period as like, ah, shit, this is what rock bottom feels like. Like, it basically just accelerated my trajectory to the bottom. But like, I never saw it as a bad thing. Like, it was never
Right.
anything where I'm like, oh man, I really wish I didn't do that. It was always like, damn, there was a lot that I have just been ignoring for so long. And I'm glad I'm
Yes.
figuring this out right now, than having to figure it out at a place where maybe I have a partner or a kids or other responsibilities that I need to deal with.
Exactly. Exactly. Because, I always refer to this as the cosmic two by four. Like, when the
Hmm.
universe comes and like smacks
Pop.
you. So it's like, I've had plenty of those in my lifetime, plenty of opportunities. But not everyone gets that, right? Like, not everyone has that moment of like, life is falling apart. Like, maybe everything looks really good from the outside. They,
Hmm.
they're successful, and they've got, money and status, and, all of these things that we're told will bring us happiness. And yet they feel like, God, is this it?
Because they're
Like,
using all, and this is just speaking from a personal experience, it's because I'm using all of my energy to hold this idea together that
yes.
I've been told is a good thing, but deep down I don't actually think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And even this whole idea of needing to hold it all together. Like, I
Hmm.
feel like as a woman, there is a lot of that pressure, and likely for men as well, but I just feel like we try so hard to protect our image and appear
Hmm.
like we have it all together. And we invest so much energy into controlling our world to keep it
Hmm.
all together. And sometimes you got to let that shit fall down
Yeah.
and burn. Like,
Fall apart to the ground
sometimes you
before
got
you
to fall
rebuild.
apart.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to, but like, being able to stay grounded when you're in that pocket of, because it's not like
Oh,
everything just falls apart all at once. It
right.
takes time for things to fall apart. So you have to, like, at least for me, I had to sit there and let things really slowly fall apart before I
Yes.
could do anything about it. Like, it was just being
Yes.
like, ah, I know this is good for me, but oh my god, this kind of sucks
Oh
a
my
little bit.
God. Yeah, yeah. And that's why I think I was reaching so much for spiritual teachings during
Yeah.
that time, because it was so uncomfortable and so scary and so hard. And so I'm just like, all right, anybody that's got words of wisdom, like, I want to hear it.
I'm here for it.
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about like what you do now, like in your psychedelic leadership coaching. Like what exactly does that entail?
Yeah. Yeah. So I tend to work with leaders, executives, director level, anyone that has to influence or lead a team of individuals that that either is lacking clarity on where is it that I need to go, and that can be in terms of like with the company, or it could be they're considering a transition into different career, different company, different industry, um, or people that are just feeling kind of stuck, feeling like, wow, is this really all there is? Like, I was told this is what success looks like, but I don't feel like I enjoy this. I don't necessarily want to be with this. So I'll work with individuals one on one for executive coaching over a 6 month period, typically.
Hmm.
Can go shorter, can go longer. And what we do is we first identify what is it that you want to get better at. And sometimes people they focus on like an external goal. They're very
Hmm.
like outcome or results oriented, and that's fine, right? Maybe somebody names something external that they want to achieve or obtain, and
Hmm.
then I turn it back to them saying, well, what do you need to get better at in order to achieve that?
In order to do that thing.
Yes.
Haha, tricked ya.
Yes, tricked you. So we always bring it back to the self, and then from there, I'll ask them to do a blameless inventory of what are the ways that you are sabotaging yourself. Like, talk me through the behaviors, the mindsets, the self-talk. There's a lot of shit that our inner critics throw at
Hmm.
us, and it can do real harm. So we outline all of that. We then go deeper into understanding what's the fear. What is it that you are trying to control or to prevent from happening? What are you scared of losing? So we identify all of those fears and then talk about it in terms of making a pact with your shadow self. Because all of these behaviors that we don't like, that we say are self sabotage, they're actually promoting self interest, but just not in a way that is working for you. So
Yeah.
I think about it in terms of the shadow self, right? And these are all the behaviors that are protecting your shadow self. And so it's like a pact that you have made with these parts of yourself that have been ignored or alienated, or just hidden from the world. So we'll identify those. And then we get into a bit deeper understanding of your belief system. I call this whole process mindset mapping.
Hmm.
And the whole point is to come to an understanding of what is it that you believe to be true about yourself, about the way that the world works, things that you operate as if this is law, when
Hmm.
really it's an assumption that you're making,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So
So
just getting to like the root cause of what that belief system is, and then you can, work on it from there.
exactly. Then we go from there. We work on it. We do, observation, mindfulness. We bring in some somatics. We run experiments. We devise, like real life tests that people can run. And it's all about shifting the mindset, because if you can make that shift from the core, from your identity, right, then it's going to emanate out into all layers of your habits, of the ways that you're showing up,
Hmm.
and your ability to actually achieve whatever goal you've set out. And so I integrate psychedelics into that, in a couple of different ways. So clients have the option of working with microdosing, especially
Hmm.
if the meeting your inner truth sounds too terrifying. We can work with microdosing. So I'll bring that in as a tool.
Hmm.
Not necessarily working with it in the session, but more
Yeah.
helping people to create a daily practice
Yeah.
around it, right? Creating a ritual.
Like that
And
sacred container. in order,
Exactly.
like, for the microdosing to occur.
Exactly. And it's really about giving people an opportunity to find a moment of quiet to be alone with themselves, right?
Hmm.
Because like doing that is going to start nurturing the relationship that you have to yourself, and it's going to give those parts of you that have been stifled an opportunity to start communicating with you.
Hmm.
So that's part of my interest in creating it. That's not how I sell it. That's not
Yeah.
how I tell clients that it's going to go, right? I say, yeah, it's going to be, it could be really helpful in terms of your anxiety, or like your feeling of, I need to control everything. Or
Hmm.
it might help in terms of making you feel really just inspired and creative. It can help with making you more present and aware. So, I'll sell the benefits in those terms, but it
Hmm.
is about creating an awareness of self and a relationship to self.
Hmm.
So that's where the microdosing will come in. For clients that are interested in doing the deep dive and going on the big trip, we'll do the mindset mapping process as preparation. And so that's, kind of, it's getting a feel for what it is that you know, but that you aren't consciously aware of, right? It's taking those things that are kind of running in the background that you have been subject to, and it's bringing it in front and making it into an object, something that we
Gotcha.
can look at and kind of play with. And then I'll have them, team up with a facilitator, or here in Oregon, we've got the licensed service centers, or some individuals already have a practice with psychedelics, in which case, maybe they want guidance on how to do their own personal ceremony at home.
Hmm.
But it's creating that intentional container to go inwards, have it be that inward journey. And then after that, we'll spend 4 months together unpacking and integrating. And so it's combining what they learned in that psychedelic experience with what we know from the, intellectual side, the
Hmm.
mindset map, and then running experiments so that their mind and their body can unify with this new truth that
Mm.
that they have discovered.
Nice. That
Yeah.
sounds like a really, really amazing and fruitful process. So
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is about the end of our time. This freaking flew by.
This did.
So where can people find you?
I am active on Instagram at Victoria Coaches. I'm also on LinkedIn under Victoria Lauren. Look for Psychedelic Leadership Coach. And people can also visit my website, www.victoriacoaches.com. I do have a link there if anyone wants to just, have a quick chat. They can schedule an exploratory call with me, and we can kind of talk through whatever's going on in your life or whatever it is that you're curious about. And then you can also find me, of course, on the Psychedelic Mindscape on Spotify for podcasts.
Yeah, check it out. And I'm going to link to all of these in the footnotes of the podcast too.
Perfect.
Victoria, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. That was phenomenal. I feel like my intention from the beginning has certainly been fulfilled.
Beautiful.
So, so much love to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cam. I appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. Thank you again to Victoria for coming on and being your authentic, joyful, incredible self. I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate everybody who has stuck along for the ride. That's all I got. So we'll see you next episode. Peace, peace.